Singer-songwriter James Blunt's become an international superstar in the past year. He's sold 9 million albums and been on the road for 14 months. Now, if you think that sounds glamorous and exciting, just listen to this. This is how Mr. Blunt spends 48 hours. First, he's on stage performing in the UK. Then he's into a car, onto a plane and into Chicago. It is straight from the airport to a live interview with Oprah, of course. From there, it's straight back to the airport, off to the north of England for another live performance. And amongst all of that, he's missed 2 nights' sleep and a birthday.
I'm kind of grubby.
You look quite clean.
Tour bus is a pretty smelly place.
You can't be that grubby though, because you walked around Auckland today finding a laundromat, didn't you?
Well, yeah, that's what life has become, really. Finding a laundromat and doing the simple things like that.
People, I think, may be surprised that, I mean, you're a huge star, that you would be walking down through central Auckland looking for a laundromat and having a kebab.
Yeah, I mean, I could always, send things off with a concierge service, and then you really wouldn't get to see the place that you're in. So I think it's important in a way to find excuses to go and have a look around and say, if I hadn't gone and looked around to find things to do, I wouldn't have seen Auckland as it is. And it's a really interesting place. I'd be ashamed to miss it. So
are they playing your music in the laundromat? Because you hear your songs run a lot.
That didn't happen there. That has happened before. I've walked into a sandwich shop, and as I walked in, the counter cleared and stuff, and on the radio came on "You're Beautiful." As I walked in, it felt like I was almost walking in slow motion towards the counter, and instead of saying "My life was brilliant," I said "Tuna sandwich, please." And it just all became a little weird.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true.
So record sales, I think it's what, 6.5 million thus far. It's huge, isn't it?
I think we've banged up to 9 million now.
Oh, you're 9 million. I beg your pardon. So that's a big difference.
Well, it's a ridiculous number, isn't it? It's not something I'd expected or understood.
Can you tell, is there a difference between perhaps playing somewhere like Auckland and anywhere else in the world? I mean, is there a different feeling, a different vibe?
I absolutely think there is, totally. I think it's a really remarkable individual place, and I can say that with my hand on my heart. I think people have got a real warmth and a real sense of life and sense of humour as well. I've come from a place, Britain, we can sometimes take ourselves a little bit seriously. The States has its own individual character. Throughout Europe I've travelled, and sometimes it's hard to get your message across because there's a different language there. Here the Kiwis seem to take the mickey out of themselves and take the mickey out of me very quickly. And,
do we?
Yes, and it's it makes life very easygoing and very warm as a result.
So long, Jimmy, so long, though you only stayed a moment, we all know that you're the one.
I jumped online today and Googled you, and there was, these various sites, and there's lots of them now. And I could buy a coffee cup or a coffee mug with your face on it.
I wouldn't recommend buying it. It would be a horrible sight in the morning for you.
But it must be, I mean, to become a sort of I guess, that level of marketing, how does that feel from your position?
Yeah, it's very strange. I guess sometimes it can be confusing as someone who is a musician and does music on a daily basis to, I guess what you're talking about is almost being branded in a way is strange. We do live in that kind of an era of the cult of the individual and the notion of celebrity. And I'm sometimes confused by that. I think there are many more people who need to be celebrated, like doctors and nurses and firemen and a whole host of other people.
And the other side, of course, of that is that you've got tabloids in the UK that leave no stone unturned about your personal life. And I don't want to hear about your personal life, but
I'm so glad I must correct the phrase. They don't leave any stone unturned. They leave every stone turned and just construct their own rubbish in order to sell newspapers. But I think everyone around the world recognises that, and that we recognise it as that's part of the entertainment rather than anything factual.
Next album, so you're working on it already in your spare few moments. Is there enough inspiration?
Yeah, absolutely. I still, have the same friends and connections with family and the people I work with, and I live as a normal human as best I can, and so, and I'm inspired to write. I have many musical ideas and look forward to getting those down when this world tour finishes.
Great. Oh, we'll have a great time on stage tonight, won't you?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice to talk to you again, James.
Yeah, good to see you.
And James is on stage at the St James in Auckland tonight for his only New Zealand gig. Well, before we go, a bit of an update on the proposed Ocean Beach development. There's been surprise in Hawke's Bay with the release of the finalised plans. There is nearly double the number of houses proposed, from 540 to 980. The future Ocean Beach Group, which opposes it, well, you can imagine they are alarmed. Even Hastings Mayor Lawrence Yule says it is a far more intensive development than he had ever envisaged. Of course, the proposal still has to go through the council's resource consent process. Apparently too, there's a TUI's billboard in Hawke's Bay that says, as we've been on billboards tonight, it says, "You'll hardly notice 540 houses at Ocean Beach." Yeah, right, well, that might need to be changed. Mark's with you tomorrow. I'm off to do an interview, but I'm back the next night. Until then, that's New Zealand Close Up.